This budget resolution marks the first step for House Republicans to advance President Trump's America First agenda. We've heard plenty of fear-mongering and flat-out dishonesty from Democrats and their liberal media allies about what is included in this resolution. To be clear, this resolution unlocks the path forward to deliver on our promises to the American people. Over the next hour, you're going to hear all of the identity groups. The Democrats want you to believe this bill hurts. You'll hear them say Republicans are abandoning the middle class and cutting benefits. None of that is true. The truth is there is not one single cut in this bill to any specific program or benefit. The truth is the Democratic Party abandoned the middle class for the liberal elite class a long time ago. The election last November should have been a wake-up call that the American people don't believe them anymore, nor should they. The Democrats are desperate for your attention and for power. Don't give it to them.
Last night in the Rules Committee, the gentlelady claimed, oh, no, Democrats can't prove there are any cuts in this budget. Except, Mr. Speaker, we can. We can. And let me lay it out as simply as I can for people. The Republican budget cuts, for example, $330 billion from programs related to education. And the same guy who wrote this budget, the chair of the Budget Committee, Mr. Arrington, also wrote this document, Mr. Speaker, this document right here, which I have in front of me, which says in black and white that those education cuts include $12 billion from school meals. How dare you? And I'm sorry that she doesn't like these facts, but they are facts. And school meals are just one example. This budget makes deep cuts to Medicaid, including long-term care, deep cuts to food assistance for hungry families, deep cuts to Pell Grants. And these cuts are going to hurt people. So I would just ask the gentlelady a simple question. Whose side are you on? Does she want to stand with the school kids in her district who rely on school meals to get through the day? Or does she side with the billionaires who are getting another tax giveaway in this budget?
So let's set the record straight about what this budget resolution actually accomplishes. It will provide funding for border security, provide for our national defense, and restore American energy independence. It will provide tax relief for working families. On border security, Biden's open border policies resulted in over 8.5 million encounters at the southern border since 2021, a 500% increase in illegal crossings, and over $115 billion in cost to state and local governments. Most tragically, Biden's border crisis allowed unprecedented amounts of deadly fentanyl into our communities, killing over 100,000 Americans. Next, this bill enables us to permanently protect tax relief. President Trump's Tax Cuts and Jobs Act provided critical relief to middle-class families and small businesses. Americans are still experiencing high prices because we're still recovering from Bidenomics. Prices are up 21%, real wages have declined by more than 3%, mortgage rates have skyrocketed, credit card delinquencies have risen by over 50%. Bidenomics cost American families more than $11,000 every year for the last 4 years. Next, this budget resolution prioritizes energy independence. Under President Trump's first administration, the United States was energy independent for the first time in 40 years. That stopped the day Joe Biden took office, and American families have been hurting ever since.
Mr. Speaker, let me, before I get into my statement, let me begin. I keep on hearing from the other side that this is just a budget resolution, and it doesn't have any actual policies in it. And yet the gentlelady referred to all the tax cuts. Can she point me to where the resolution says anything about tax cuts? Of course, the answer is that it doesn't. What it does is simply instruct our tax writing committees to write legislation to spend $4.5 trillion, just like it instructs our SNAP committee to cut $290 billion and our Medicaid committee to cut $880 billion. You cannot have it both ways and pretend that the harms aren't real while the tax cuts are. But we know the harms are real, and we know what's planned, and we've seen the leaked document. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, it looks like facts and truth have absolutely no place in this administration or in this Republican Party. We already knew that this administration lies like a rug. First, we heard that the United States was sending $50 million worth of condoms to Hamas, which was a lie. Then we heard it was Ukraine that started the war, not Russia. Another lie. Then we heard the terrible plane crash here in Washington happened because of diversity programs. Also a lie. Now the gentlelady from Indiana wants us to believe that not a single thing in the budget she is arguing for is going to hurt anyone at all. That there isn't a single tax giveaway to billionaires in their budget. But guess what, Mr. Speaker? It's simply not accurate. But we all saw this coming. We did. I mean, last month, Trump's inauguration, who was in the front row? It wasn't people on Medicaid. It wasn't factory workers. It wasn't nurses or teachers or firefighters. It wasn't even his own cabinet. It was the richest people in the world. And that is who this Republican budget helps. It steals from taxpayers and funnels the money to those at the very top. Imagine stealing from school meals for kids so that billionaires can get another tax giveaway. Does she stand with the 178,119 constituents in her district that are on Medicaid? Does she stand with the thousands and thousands of kids in her district who rely on school meals? Or does she stand with the greedy corporations who are price gouging struggling families? I know where I stand, Mr. Speaker, and we are going to fight like hell to oppose this awful Republican budget because we know whose side we're on. And we're going to fight like our constituents' lives depend on it, because they do. And with that, I reserve my time.
Gentleman reserves. The gentlelady from Indiana is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd just like to commend the other side for saying, finally, that some of these things that they have been harping on for the last several hours and 24 hours segments is not true. There's nothing in this budget resolution that presumes cuts to specific programs. Our Democrat colleagues admitted this much themselves last night. This legislation simply provides flexible spending targets for authorizing committees to best determine what is feasible within their jurisdiction. I'd like to remind my Democrat colleagues that this resolution is the first step in a process to let reconciliation begin, when the real work will happen in the committees. If my colleagues have concerns about potential cuts being proposed, once the authorizing committees begin their work, there will be ample opportunity to debate, provide amendment, and find opportunities in the reconciliation instructions for common ground. Unlike my friends on the other side, we don't view the Rules Committee as the first stop in the legislative process, but rather the last. We should let the committees do their work and not prejudge the outcomes or make baseless accusations and presumptions. And with that, I'd like to yield 3 minutes to my friend, Mr. Norman. 3 minutes.
Thank you, Congresswoman Houcher, for leading this debate. And I rise in full support of the House budget resolution as introduced by Chairman Arrington. And what our viewers, both in the balcony and watching this by TV, are going to see is two different worldviews. My friends on the left think tax money is their money, that you should know where it's spent in any shape, form, or fashion. Where they want to spend our tax dollars that's now being uncovered by Elon Musk is a variety of things, but it began 4 years ago with the invasion of the border. My friends from the left, the minute the Biden administration took office, opened the gates for over 170 different countries to let everybody and anybody in this country. My friends on the left allowed 400,000 unaccompanied minors to come into this country, and we don't know what happened to them. It's not good, though. Where is the sympathy for, they claim to be sympathize for people in this country, but what about the sympathy for the children? They did nothing to stop the invasion at the border. They had words, but that's all it was. They want the American people to know that it's their money to spend on illegal aliens, free college tuition, putting it on the backs of the everyday working man. This is the first step in a long journey of what we're voting on today. The previous Democrat failed leadership, which we had 4 years of, showed nonsense welfare programs which aided the budget, allowing billions of mindless spending. The American people have had enough, which is why we are in the new age of the golden age. Mr. Speaker, thank you for allowing me to speak, and Aaron, thank you for putting this argument up.
I reserve.
Gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, before I yield, there's just a couple of points I want to make. I'm still waiting for the gentlelady from Indiana to tell me where the tax cuts are in this budget. You can't have it both ways. You can't say there's all these tax cuts in this budget, and yet there's no cuts. The reality is there are cuts in this budget. And to the gentleman who just spoke from South Carolina, he may need a reminder, and maybe he could do a town hall in his district. He might get an earful. But 74,000 of his constituents receive coverage under the Affordable Care Act. By supporting this resolution, he's betraying the 148,948 constituents in his district that depend on Medicaid for their essential care, and the 85,000 constituents in the 5th District who rely on SNAP to put food on the table. So maybe do a town hall and listen to constituents rather than just big donors. At this point, I'd like to yield 1 minute and 15 seconds to the gentlewoman from Florida, Ms. Wasserman Schultz.